Vision, you're absolutely right. It's a fluffy word. I just had a workshop this past week, Aaron, where we talked about vision, and everyone throws out that buzzword like, oh, vision, I have this vision, but what does it really mean? The vision needs to come from the CEO. Does that mean in the next 5 years, I'm going to exit this business? Does it mean I want to double, triple revenue or more beyond, get to 7, 8 figures? You have to clearly define what those tactile things mean. Those are the words that you put into script that you then live out as a CEO every single day.
What's up, and welcome back to the Living Vision Show. I've got a very special guest here today with you. I've got Erica Seagrave here. This conversation with Erica is tactical and crunchy, and it's for you as a visionary if you struggle with the ops side. And I got to be honest with you, if you're a visionary, you definitely struggle with the operational side. Erica's got a history of running a small business, building it, growing it, and doing all the things that we do, where we have way too many hats, we're running too many things through ourselves, we become the bottleneck, and we don't know how to do it. And honestly, I see a lot of ops people talk about ops. Erica has a fire about it. In this conversation, we get to talk about how to navigate team issues, how to talk about systems and processes, how to think about investing in help when you need an ops person, and how to make sure your culture, your vision, and your implementation strategies stay aligned. This conversation probably deserves a pen and paper because it will force you to think differently about the way you're growing your company. And it's my job to make sure that we bring really high value conversations to you. And I think this might be one of my favorites. Welcome to the show, Erica Seagrave. Erica, I'm so excited that you're here. This is not as fun as tacos, but we get to sit down and kind of chop it up so that anybody listening can gather some wisdom from you. So I'm excited that you're here. I want to start with this question, and I'll give you the context, and then I'm going to let you just fire away. There's this belief that I've had to confront just in our work where vision feels like fluffy and non-tactical. And I think part of our job is to retrain that thought so that vision becomes a tactical roadmap for the company, for the leader, for everybody in it. But I also don't want people to think that if you build this fascinating vision and you know what you're trying to build and you know where you're trying to go, that things don't go wrong. And what I love to gather from you is a little bit about where you see vision like breaking when it meets the real world, and why companies need an operational set of supports to bring it to life. Because it's not as clean, it's kind of muddy, it's messy, it doesn't work perfectly. It is necessary, but I'd love to hear your take on why it breaks, how it breaks, and then how you do your magic to fix it.
Absolutely. Vision, you're absolutely right. It's a fluffy word. I just had a workshop this past week, Aaron, where we talked about vision, and everyone throws out that buzzword like, oh, vision, I have this vision, but what does it really mean? The vision needs to come from the CEO. So other things in the corporation can come from your mission statement, your core values. Those things can come from your team once you have developed a team, but the vision truly needs to come from the CEO. Does that mean in the next 5 years, I'm going to exit this business? Does it mean I want to double, triple with, revenue or more beyond, get to 7, 8 figures by leading my team and by doing whatever X services? You have to clearly define what those tactile things mean. And those are the words that you put into script that you then live out as a CEO every single day. And you get your team to buy into that. So everyone is very clear on what the vision is. Every single goal, every single strategic move and objective move all goes towards that vision, those words that you're writing out. So you're right. Sometimes it can be fluff, but it actually means something, and it drives you and it drives your business.
Yeah. Where does it break? Where does, when you get in with a CEO that has a clear vision and you're working on implementation, where does stuff go wrong?
Not being executed. So not following through. So words are just words unless you do something with them, right? Unless you have actions. So you have a mission, then you have an action to complete that vision. And that's where companies go wrong. They don't do that. They say, they may not even refer back to the vision. So it's important to identify what the vision is and then refer back to it so everybody is on the same page, because it gets broken, it falls apart, and there are holes and gets derailed is what I say. The train gets, derailed and off the tracks because everyone's just thinking willy-nilly and they're not following what the actual vision is of the company and the organization. So I think that's, where it goes wrong is because people aren't held accountable.
Which is often really difficult for visionaries because they're the creatives, right? They're driving this. How do you, if you had a CEO in front of you and they weren't holding their team accountable, how do you help them become the accountability chief of the business?
It happens all the time. Most of the time, when I go in and assess a company, I'm looking at the leader of the company because most of the time they're the one that has the hardest time holding people accountable because they don't hold themselves accountable. And sometimes they know it and sometimes they don't. So, like you, I'm very transparent and I mean what I say and I say what I mean. And so when I come in and talk to CEOs, I tell them, I'm auditing your business for the next 30 days and I'm going to find out where the holes are. And sometimes it's going to go back to you, the CEO. And sometimes they say, oh no, it probably isn't me. I got to have everything together. And then it ends up being them. So I just had those tough conversations to say, you've got to hold your feet to the fire and be accountable. Otherwise, no one else on your team is going to be held accountable because you're not holding them accountable and you're not holding yourself accountable. So it's radical. I always say this, you have to install radical accountability. And that's tough because people do not like to be held accountable.
Yeah. Yeah. We've worked in companies where the idea of accountability itself is challenged. Like, oh, we want autonomy. And I think autonomy without accountability is really dangerous. And it leads to the fraying of a business. I also think that accountability for CEOs, like part of the joy of being a CEO is you're significant. You can make all these choices. And it feels like you shouldn't have accountability, right? You're the king and kings don't have accountability. But I think all of us thrive under a little bit of pressure to perform and do what we say. And an organization without accountability is just laden with so many issues. What are some of the issues that what are some of the other issues? So accountability is definitely one of them. What are some of the other like performative issues that you see when people are trying to execute something really big?
Setting clear goals. So just not the lack of setting clear goals. I think sometimes I always teach my clients to keep it simple. Go back to just create 2 to 3 goals for this quarter. And then everything you do has to align with these goals. And you have to get your team on board with that. And a lot of times I did this in my own businesses where I brought my team in to help me with those goals and objectives because I didn't want them to be all on me as the CEO. I set everyone down. I gave them an opportunity to speak and have a voice and to be a leader and say, what do you think our goal should be for the quarter? And then I hold them accountable and we're going to go back and measure that metrics to make sure everything we're doing in the organization goes back to that goal. And if it didn't get met, why didn't it get met? Where did we go wrong? So when I would go into leadership meetings, I wasn't leading the meeting, they all were. And I would refer back to them and say, where were the holes? Where did things go wrong? Because again, we didn't meet we all as a company, we didn't meet the goals and the objectives for the quarter. That's how I did. I break it down into quarters and then look at like the objectives or goals for the year.
I love that. Yeah. It takes real skill to be able to take a vision and map it down tactically. I think that's a conversation many people lack or are not having is once you build vision, then you still have to build in milestones and objectives and targets and KPIs and all of those
That's right.
things.
Rocks, right? If you're EOS, it's rocks,
EOS,
right?
yep,
It's
yep,
whatever. Yeah,
listen rocks.
program. Yeah.
Yeah, I learned about EOS after I had been doing 90-day targets and building my own personal dashboard. So I kind of learned about it late and was like, oh my God, like somebody else is doing this too. Uh,
Same
it
here.
was,
I'm raising my hand because you and I had this conversation. I ran my first business, Aaron, for multiple years, being the visionary, the implementer, everything. And I was lucky I could because I'm very organized and I don't have attention deficit or hyperactivity. A lot of CEOs do, and that's what really drives them. But I was able to do both until I finally wasn't. When I learned about EOS, I read the book Traction, you and I talked about by Gino Wickman, right? I didn't hire an implementer. I actually did it myself. And then I started putting people in place in my company. You're the director of operations. You're the educator. You're client services. You're quality control. And that allowed me to back up in my business and truly be the CEO that I've yearned for years.
okay, we're going to dig into this and we're going to dig into this hard.
Mm-hmm.
When big context, for you listening, this may be you. So I want you to pay very close attention to this. Usually if I get a document that's like, here's my vision. It's a very self-centered vision, right? Entrepreneurs are driven by like, well, the life that I could have and everything that I could want. Look at my car, my house, my like lake house. And it doesn't accurately describe or define business activity, nor does it guide and direct the team. So it needs a lot of work. So we come in and we go, all right, draft number one, thank you very much. We're going to like probably delete most of this and we're going to build you a vision that's powerful and tactical and strategic. And so we rebuild it. But in the process of rebuilding it, what we typically notice is that the founder is the bottleneck. And they're the bottleneck for a variety of reasons. I would label them, and I want you to add to this list, and then we're going to keep going. I would say number one is they think they're better than they actually are at things that they're doing. So there might be something in that they're really, really, really good at, but all the other things they're probably just okay at and can replace. Number two, it's ego driven, and number three, there's a fear of like, well, maybe it's loss of control, or can somebody do this as well as I? Do you see any other things that CEOs believe about why they're the bottleneck and why they keep too many tasks?
Nope, you hit them all. I can't think of anything else. Yep. For me, I'll speak personally for myself because that just resonates with me that I thought I could do it better. No one's going to do it as good as I am. No one's going to love and care about my business as good as I do. No one cares about the money as much as I do and is going to control the money. So it's a little bit of control that I kept everything close to the vest because of the competitive nature of that medical business that I owned. But also it was about delegating. And my theory for delegating is I say this all the time. And when I speak to my clients, if someone can do it at 80% of the level that you can do it, delegate to them and then back off and then get out of there. Right. So it was about control and money because I thought I could just save these financial resources and allocate them here if I could do everything. And what that did is I wasted a lot of time and money, resources and health and all the things that, I couldn't ever scale. And I was stuck myself.
Yeah. This is also changing a lot with AI and how tasks are delegated. When I think of anyone that builds a really grand, exciting, fabulous vision, what ends up happening is the bottleneck becomes obvious real fast, right? Because we're going to design this thing and then all of a sudden the CEO is wearing so many hats, to use an EOS phrase. They're just doing too much themselves and they can't actually work on the things necessary to grow and scale. They're not even hitting like home runs or base hits. They're hitting like a wiffle ball bat with like a backyard, like can't even see it kind of rubber ball. And I think the challenge that I observe is CEOs that think they can execute as a CEO and as all these other things. So how do you rip them out of their bottlenecking without being the one to like directly say, hey, you're messing all of this up. How do you do it gently or do you not? I guess that'd be a good place to start.
No, that's a fair question. Although I'm very transparent and bold, I do have a kind candor. So I tell them, I'm going to evaluate and audit your business. And I'm going to see one of the things I love doing with businesses is identifying people in the organization that exist that may already have the skills that I'm looking for. So first I have to recognize that I'm the bottleneck, and that takes observation and self-reflection to say, I'm the problem. It's me. So now I know that I'm going to get out of the way. Now, who do I need? What do I not want to do? What do I not like doing? Am I not good at doing? And then I need to bring that person in to do those things so that it frees me up to do X. So it's identifying those things, but always look in your organization first to see who has some of those strengths that you're looking for before you start going out. This is why fractional CEOs and COOs are good, because they know some of the things. They can just be like plug and play and be filled in, right? But if a company is saying, I don't want to make that move right now, it's not within my budget, look for people in your team that exhibit those skills and then start training them up to do it. But they don't just get to walk in and say, congratulations, you're the COO or director of operations. You have to mentor them as the CEO and still teach them those skills, right? And then again, once they can do it at 80% of the level, then you start backing out as the CEO. And by the way, Aaron, being a CEO doesn't mean, like you had said earlier, I have 5 homes, I have a yacht in Aruba, I'm out of here. No, you still have to oversee the business and have your finger on the pulse. It doesn't mean you get to go away. It just means you're at the apex now and you're no longer kind of dipping down in that chiasm.
Yeah. So good. Like I think most businesses are started because we want a better lifestyle. I actually think there's not any other argument to build a business other than I want a better lifestyle. Otherwise, just get a job. It's way easier.
Yeah, freedom.
And
That's what we hear, freedom. And that's
yeah,
time and money
yeah,
freedom, right?
yeah. And and the lie is, well, eventually you'll just be free and you can do whatever you want, when you want, how you want. And that feels like a very empty life to me. Uh, but in the journey to that, to whatever we believe is the next tier, there is a desire often to be very creative. I think that entrepreneurs are artists at core and love creativity. And when an organization is growing and scaling, what typically changes is you go from creativity to constraint. You go from this like nebulous thing where you're kind of winging it to process and roles and, defined decision making protocols and all these structures. And it can feel like we're losing the spark. We're losing the creativity. Like we were always so creative, but in a way it actually unlocks the org. What's your take on what the unlock is and how that happens?
I see that all the time. And it doesn't feel like they truly are losing their passion. So you literally see CEOs who are the creatives, who are the visionaries that are getting stuck in day-to-day operations, putting out fires. And that's where the burnout comes in because now they're dealing with hiring, firing, SOPs, all the things in operations and day-to-day operations. So they've lost their lust and their passion for the business. So then what happens? They just end up doing nothing and burnout. And then the business has gone to shit. All the things they just poured their heart and soul and money into have basically gone to hell. So I love working with CEOs and saying, my goal for you as your interim or your fractional COO is to get you staying at the top of the chiasm and not tipping down into operations so you can remain happy, right? This is why you started this business because you're passionate about it. And by the way, they're really good at it. I love working with CEOs because they are creative way more than I am. I'm definitely an ops person. I'm more of the ops than the CEO, even though I have been a CEO for years and for other companies. I actually like ops better. So I love working with CEOs and seeing their visionary mind because I feed off of them like, oh, I love that idea. Let's implement it. And and that gets their spark back up again, Aaron. I love seeing that is for a moment or for the time I'm working with them. And the hope is to continue that is feel alive again and passionate about their business because they feel like they finally have relief and they're back where they want to be.
Man, oh, I love this. Okay. So I want to present you with a question that I deal with as a visionary, creative, sort of artistic guy. Uh, when I when I have an idea, I have like 97,312 ideas. And I typically have to like figure out what's a good one, what's a bad one. What I've learned over time is that if I tell the team I have an idea, what they hear is I have an order. So I've had to get really good at, hey, this is an idea discussion table. We're not implementing any of this. And this is an implementation table. We're going to talk about strategies and how to do it. But when you have an ops person like you, it sounds like a visionary like me can just like dump out a whole bunch of ideas and you kind of become the sorting hat of that one makes sense, not right now, or what have you. I love that idea. What I see often is CEOs that don't want to be told no, right? There's this like, I want to hold on to my ego. But I love the idea of handing over a bunch of ideas to an ops person. I can't puzzle in my head how that works because I'm not an ops person. Like I have no idea how to do most things. So I go, who in the world would do this? Like everyone's feeling the chaos in my head like I am. But it sounds like you see the world very differently. When you hear ideas, how do you sort them? How do you navigate a creative brain and make it all make sense? Because I'm so curious about this.
Yeah. I listen first and I see because a lot of times it is a bunch of brain dump and just purging. They had a good night's sleep last night or their mind was racing and then they come to me with all these ideas. And I'm writing all of them down and I'm listening. I'm really good at listening and then pulling out things that how is this going to move the needle for your business? So if they immediately throw something out to me, and sometimes I have to think on it too. And I'm a note taker, so I write things down, I listen, and then I study that. Some things immediately. One of the things I feel like I've gotten really good at doing is listening right away and saying, I don't love that idea, and here's why I don't. I always give a why why I don't think it will work. And most CEOs are open. They brought me in because they recognize they need my help. So they're really open-minded to allowing me to help. And in fact, they're crying and begging for it, Aaron. They say, I know I need someone like you because I don't have my shit together. So I need you to come in and help me get stuff done. So they're very open-minded about that. But when they're throwing their ideas at me, I then start poking questions in it. Well, what about this? How is this? I like this idea, but how is it going to generate revenue? Is this going towards your vision and goal? How does this meet your vision, goals, and objectives of the company? And I circle back around so that makes them think about that. And it can't just be like a random thought. Sometimes the randoms are really good and they have traction, but sometimes CEOs just need to get it out. So I let them get it out. I'm like, okay, get it all out. And let me try to find 2 or 3 nuggets in there that are going to stick. But how is it going to help you? And moreover, how is it going to help the business? And if it doesn't, I'm going to say no. Or do you have the finances to do that? That's one of the things I always come back to say. Do you have the financial means to implement this? No? Then we're going to put a pin in that. And we're going to do what we can do right now. So that's the vibration, and that's the give and take that I have with CEOs. And sometimes it's a lot for me to process because they're coming at me like rapid fire. And I'm like, okay, all right, I can handle this.
Yeah. I'm laughing because I know that's definitely my tendency. Like, all right, here's every idea I've ever had from 3 a.m. this morning until 7 p.m. last night.
But what you just said is really good, Aaron. It's a good point. I'm just brainstorming. I'm just dumping ideas because it can feel very heavy to your ops people. If you start saying things and they're thinking, oh crap, now I got to put all these things in motion. Like, what? It's important, Aaron. What do I need to do? So clearly defining, that's a great takeaway for CEOs listening to this. That's a great takeaway to say, hey guys, I'm just brain dumping right now. And I'm just going to start throwing out ideas. And if you think it sounds good and it's going to stick, write it down. But now these are things I 100% want us to implement as an organization. So make that clear to them so you guys are already aligned in the beginning.
I've learned that because to the word, I remember saying, I have an idea. And the next day it was done. And I was like, what? That was, wait a minute, hold on. Why did you do that? And they were like, you told us to do it. And I learned that in the position of leadership that we're in, our words carry this tremendous magnitude. And if we're not careful with them, they are often misrepresented as directives or commitments or tasks. So lessons learned, but I think it opened up a pocket for how can we make sure that CEOs have a space to talk about ideas. And this is where like masterminds can be really effective too, because you can get with other CEOs and basically all you do over coffee is talk about like, oh, what are you doing? What are we doing? Let's talk about all these ideas. And that is not always the best thing to do with your team. Your team will feel like you're unfocused and undisciplined at times.
Yeah, that's a great segue for where fractional COO comes in like me, because I tell them, have those conversations with me. Do not talk about these things to your team because you are going to see that they are very overwhelmed. Do not do that. Run these things past me, and I'm the bulldog at the front door, and I'm going to stop things before, even if your employees have things that need to go to you, they have to stop at me first before it even gets to you, so that they don't even bog you down. And then I'm going to decipher and govern what goes to you and what doesn't go to you. And the same is true with the CEO. Bring those things to me, brain dump to me, and let me decipher what needs to be rolled out and implemented to the team and what doesn't. Otherwise, it's going to be inconsistent chaos in your team. They're all going to see it. Everyone's going to feel it.
I love this. So the way I think about organizations now is like an hourglass. If you're on audio, you can't see what I'm drawing, but imagine an hourglass. And you've kind of got this visionary up at the top. You've got the team down in the bottom section, and that little mini area where everything filters through. That's where you have an integrator or somebody centralized on ops. And what I've learned is that most visionaries are incredibly bad managers, and I'm one of them. Like, I'm not labeling people differently than I would label myself. I am not a good manager. I'm a great leader for an organization from the sense of what a leader needs to be and what is uh, needed when vision, alignment, goals, and those things, like I can get the team inspired. I can capture attention. I can charm partnerships and do all the public facing things. But as soon as it comes to management and accountability, I'm no good. I'm worse than worse. And having someone in between is incredibly important. So you almost become the filter from the team to the CEO and the filter from the CEO down to the team.
That's right.
What kind of permissions do you need from a CEO to be able to do that really well?
I ask them, I come out of the gate when we have they've agreed to moving forward with my services. I ask them, are you okay with me? What communication channels do you guys use? Is it Slack, Teams, WhatsApp, whatever that is? Are you okay with adding me into that channel so I can already see the communication that's going on with your teams? And then I say, are you okay with me interjecting when I see things that need to be stopped, paused, or redirected, or even giving some guidance? And most of the times, most of the CEOs say yes. But I always ask their permission. How comfortable are you? Do you want me to be front facing with your team? Or are you wanting me more to be back in the background, guiding you as a CEO, and then you're the one that rolls these out? Aaron, most of the time, they give me carte blanche to come in and say, I know I need help. I hate doing this. I'm not good at managing and holding people accountable. I want you to come in. And honestly, that's what I love doing, is helping employees, whoever they are below the CEO, be better leaders, because my ultimate goal is to get them managing day-to-day ops and leave the CEO alone. And by the way, most of them want that. These employees do not want CEOs in day-to-day. They want them out of there. I know my team did. They said, we don't want you here. We want you growing the business, because growing the business means, um, security in our jobs and scaling and all the other things. So, but I always ask the CEOs how they feel about me interjecting.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that it's that many, and maybe it's about when by the time they're calling you, they're like, please, things are on fire. Because I sense there's hesitation or reticence to let go of that initially. I'd be curious to know, like, if you had a company say, look, let's say ideal case, we've worked with them to build a really clear vision and a really outlined structure of what that vision really means. And they're like ready to rip. What are some of the first things that you look for, whether it's systems or processes or decision making or roles, when somebody does have a vision, but there is, the natural amount of chaos that we're talking about here? What do you look for first?
First of all, who are the leaders? I look for all those things, but I look for, who are the leaders? Do they have a leader already designated in the organization who can help them offload some of these things, like systems and SOPs? So that's what I want to know. Who are the key leaders, smart strategic leaders? Because not everybody is the right fit, right? They have to be the key strategic right team leaders to help lead this team. So that's the first thing I'm going to look for. And then I'm going to find out if they have what their systems are and SOPs. If they don't, then the new key leaders, or the key leaders that they have within the team, those people need to start creating the systems and SOPs so that everyone's on the same page and everyone is aligned. Without those two things, every other step can't happen. So the CEO's vision, and then you find the right leaders, then you start creating systems, and then you implement the systems with radical accountability. And then you track your metrics in real time to see how you're doing with all these things. These are the 6 strategic steps I teach CEOs currently. But I have them go see Aaron first and get your vision, then come back to me, and now let's go.
Let's rip it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I find it, business is a great, you can look at someone's business and see how they think, right? You can see the way they organize or don't organize. You can see the way they structure or don't structure. And it is such a cool template of someone's intellectual architecture to see how they run their business. And I know that a lot of bottlenecking happens. I'm sure I'm the problem here in our company. It takes a lot of introspective work to continue to change that. If I know that I'm the problem, and there's a certain part of my business that I know no one else can do, how do you think about protecting that? How do you think about structuring around that? Not changing it, but like really defending that?
And I would have you keep doing it. And I would say, just keep doing that over and if only you can do it, that part of the business, that's the whole purpose of you bringing in a team to do the things you can't do that aren't going to move the business in the right trajectory, in the right way. So that would be my role for you. If I'm coming in as a fractional CEO for you, I'm like, I'm protecting you, Aaron, and your intellectual capital. And I want you to be doing more of this because I can see the effectiveness of this. So I want you to keep doing that. So I'm very protective of my CEOs, by the way. I want to protect them. I want to keep them happy because I was them. I remember that's how, and I wish I would have had someone like me 20 years ago, 26 years ago for my first business. So I'm being the person I wish I would have had. So I would protect you and what you have going on and let you do more of that because clearly it's working. Business development, presenting on stage to masses, whatever that is, I'd want you to keep doing it.
Yeah, I love being the person that you needed. I think
Yes.
that's why I do this as well. And uh, I love I I love having a defender, right? I have a defender in an ops person, in an integrator, and I, there has been this tremendous change through the process of him growing and getting better and better at what he does. And what I've noticed about me as this has happened is in running the business, I've always had this very like almost paternal protection of everybody on the team, right? I'm like, no, like you guys are my people. I got you. And it's only through the lens of having an ops person and integrator where I felt like that person had me and had me defended. And I had to learn that there were like two roles in me operating at a high level. One was I need to be the CEO and I need to be the director of where we're going. I also have a very slim and unique skill set and I need to maximize that as much as possible. But everything else has to get like ripped out. And initially I was kind of hesitant. I found that the easiest times to take tasks from me were one, when I was sick, and two, when I was absolutely burnt out. It was the easiest time to be like, oh, well, I got it. And, I could rationalize letting it go because I just couldn't handle it. And then it never came back. And to have a good defender is a really special thing. You talked a little bit about like how you built this skill set, but I'd be curious how, even before you were running your own business and needed you, like, was this always your move, your skill, your way of looking at the world? Were you always kind of like in the how mechanically?
Yeah, I think so. And I've had the conversations with my mom early on because I needed to get to know younger Erica and to see who that person was and why I am the way I am today. So I've always just been very protective. I'm a Taurus, so I'm your ride or die. I'm always going to be there. I'm not the person that needs to be there with you all the time, but when you need me, I'm going to jump in and help you. And I think a lot of that is what leads and guides me. And people can see that I'm truly genuine about helping others. I do a lot of things, as you do probably as well, Aaron, pro bono to help people, just because it feels good in the community to be able to do those things. And it's almost like the underdog. I have like I want to help the underdog soar and succeed. And that's just instilled in me, but I've always been very organized and methodical. And I literally just had this conversation with my mom a couple of days ago. And we talked about, Christmas time when you got your gifts, I always made my bed. No one had to tell me to make my bed. My closet was organized with all the clothes in my drawers. And when I got Christmas gifts, I would line them up on the bed. Like, here's all the shirts in one row. Here's all the pants. Here's all the whatever. Everything was in rows at like 8 and 10. Like, I'm like, okay, I need to capitalize on this obsessive compulsive disorder.
Yeah.
Fast forward, I guess that's where I am today.
Yeah. That's great. Do you think you can teach organization?
Oy, I think it's a hard skill. I think so many different podcasts that I watch about teaching character and certain skills is hard, right? And behavior. You can teach certain skills, but like EQ is hard and teaching certain structure and organizational skills. I think they can be taught. I just think it's challenging. You're going to have to spend a lot of time and resources if that person is truly worth it to you, or people. then yes, I do think that it could be fruitful and the ROI would be there.
Is a part of that then when a CEO is really disorganized that you just insulate even further because their disorganization will impact the rest of the team?
Oh, I mean, absolutely. I think some CEOs do make decisions and they just compile because they act on emotion and they don't even really think logically if that person's the right fit. And sometimes that happens, and you've probably seen it as well, Aaron, in organizations where they just throw people in to, put out a fire or fulfill a need, and they're not even the right person. And so there, oftentimes I will come in and I would say, why did you give this person a leadership role? Because I needed them. Well, then that makes me sad for that person because they're being thrown into a position they didn't necessarily ask for, and they've gotten no skills to be successful for the team. So I always kind of switch it and say, I want you to just just to try to sit on their side. You keep saying these things keep happening, but I think it's ultimately because something you're doing wrong. So let's look at this to see how you can make things better. And make things better is giving them systems to follow, because a system is a formula that you follow every single time for consistency and efficiency, and it will work.
Yeah. Yep. I've been navigating that with a couple people lately. And yeah, there's an empathy that I like to embody as well about, that this person is failing, but they're failing and being blamed for the failure when circumstantially they had such a low percentage of success to begin with, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like asking the first day firefighter who's like just out of basic training to be like, all right, you got it, go save them.
That's right.
And, there's so much weight on, like, I can appreciate what founders think. And I get it because I've done this. Like, okay, let's see if they step up, or I want to give them an opportunity, or, it's time to forge a new way. And while that is in some sense, logical from that perspective to say, we're going to give this person a chance to step up and see what they're made of. I think we also have to be emotionally intelligent about when and their bandwidth as they do that. And if you're going to throw somebody into a growth plate, a big majority of their capacity goes into growing and learning. And if you overwhelm them with a bunch of tasks in that process, they don't have the time to learn. They're just kind of reactive and stuck in that state.
That's right. The CEO has to realize they're not you. So first and foremost, they are not you. They're not wired like you, which is why you may be in the CEO position. You're a risk taker. They're more conservative, and that's okay. But you have to think about what their feelings are and what they're capable of taking on. And then again, giving that person the skills to train up. And maybe you just give them one of the things I incorporated in my own business was just giving them a few little tasks to do. If they met the metrics and the task at 80% of the level that I could, then I would give them more. I never just piled things on them and said, here you go, good luck. I just helped them and was a mentor to them as the CEO. So I still had to be involved. And maybe it took about 6 months to really groom them. And then they started doing more and more. And then one of the unique things I would do is they would like message me and text me and say, what should I do? I intentionally didn't respond, Aaron. I intentionally didn't respond. I'm like, this is a sink or swim moment for you. So I bet you're going to figure it out without me jumping in and saying, what would Erica do? And they would. And I'm like, then my work is done here. That's exactly what I was hoping to do. Right. And sometimes just the opposite of what you just said, I'll give someone, not everybody's going to step up, by the way, and raise their hand. Some people are a little bit shy because they're afraid of failing you. So they may not just step up. And so even though you're hoping that, hey, if anyone wants to be a leader, step up. But I think as a CEO, you also have to see who has some skills that I'm recognizing that are organizational skills, or very structured, or loves creating Excel spreadsheets or whatever that is. And then you have them, I'm going to give you a leadership or a management role, or don't even call it that, just maybe a leadership role, a lead role in something. Someone who doesn't even really have that skill, but that they're a good person, they could train up. You have them, I'm going to have you speak at this next meeting. And they're terrified. But your whole point is you're grooming them up to see if they're up for the task and giving that underdog the opportunity to speak up. Next thing you know, this person is your COO, their director of operations, because you believed in them, you've nurtured them, you've given them the tools to be successful. And someone who you thought was meek and shy and not raising their hand, wow, look at them now. They're a kick-ass leader on your team.
I love that. I'm a big believer in a slow process for that. And managing bandwidth and managing, skill sets and really giving someone the space to do that. what do you say to the CEO that's like, I need them ready yesterday, or like, I want to do this tomorrow, or can just, you're talking about 6 months, Erica. Can I do it in three? Because speed will break systems. Speed will mess everything up if you toggle it the wrong way.
I just got a call this morning from one of my clients that said, I have, some people on my team that are doing these things quickly. They think quickly is what I want for them. It's not. It's so how do I help them do things the right way? And what I said was, it's about efficiency. I don't care how fast you get this done. I want it to be done right and efficient. So if that takes time with me nurturing you and giving you the time and the skills, not everything has to be on fire and hot, right? Because then some people react well to that. You may, right? CEOs may, because that's what they're used to in their heads. Other people can't function like that, Aaron. They just can't. They're going to come at you and have like analysis paralysis, and they want to please you. So, yeah, that's a tough thing. It would be hard to come and say, I want someone like this yesterday. I'm like, that's how you think. That's because that's how your mind's wired. It all it's going to do is create more chaos in your organization. So you have to just be calm. Let's take a beat and let's now analyze this to see who you can have in your business do it. And maybe you need to bring somebody else who can do this quickly. But putting people under the gun like that is never a great option.
I have my whole life been really good at adapting quickly, and I know there's a strength to that. And one of the toughest lessons I've learned, I think I've learned it through fatherhood, is like it can't be my pace. And I have to mind that if I stretch the organization, the people in it, beyond their bandwidth, they will either break or leave.
Yeah.
And a pattern that I notice is like you patch the hole, you see a problem, patch it. And then all of a sudden you have this quilt that's just full of patches, right? They were never really strategic. They were never done. And I've learned that strategy and reactivity cannot coexist. You can do one or the other. And it's really difficult to get a CEO out of reactivity because in an early part of our entrepreneur career, we've essentially learned that we're more valuable in a state of panic, in a state of reactivity. We essentially differentiate because we're able to do so, like the liftoff of a business requires all of that. And I think there's this superpower that I found where I'm like, oh my God, I can do so much in a day and I can navigate this so quickly. And then my speed became a problem. And I had to kind of learn to be slow. There is a lot of, I think, inner work and mental work and emotional work on learning to be slow. And as CEOs grow, I do believe that some of it happens, as life occurs and we get older and wiser. But I still find that there's a lot of resistance to being slow. There's a story about being slow, that slow is somehow like weak, or that speed wins the game. And there's a value in making some things happen fast, but there's also sustainability in your business that we want to maintain. How do you think about slow and fast, and how they're both necessary?
I don't think about slow because I also think fast. My mind thinks fast. The wheels are always spinning. I talk fast. I'm just fast by nature, and I grasp things fast. It's efficiency. That's the word of this hour, is efficiency. So I don't necessarily want you to do things. Yes, you can say the word slow down, but when you complete this task, I need you to be efficient. What does that mean? It means I need for it to be done right the first time. And if that means you have to slow down in your processes and steps, I'm okay with that. This is still the deadline by end of day. I still need this by end of day. So if it's going to take you twice as long to work on it, I don't care. That's what you need to do. My ask is that you get it done at the end of the day, and I want it done right the first time. And if they're not being efficient, then I'm going to come back and show them what I mean by efficiency. So I think that's I've had it to my employees where they get things done because I want to deliver this to Erica because she wants this, or even some of the clients that I coach, they get it done fast and sloppy. And now they just wasted their time and my time reviewing this when they didn't hear what I said and how I wanted it done.
I think that's a really good reframe, because as a fast oriented person, anything that says slow makes my head go like, bad, immediately, on fire. No, 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 no. But I love the idea of, hey, there are some things that we need to do very quickly, and there are things that we need to do efficiently, accurately. So I love, love, love that reframe. Okay. I know in 45 minutes, we packed in themes, topics, discussions, places where people make mistakes and opportunities. You've got something coming up where you can take CEOs through kind of like a deeper dive in all of this. I want to hear more about it. I think some of our clients need to know about it. I think people listening need to know about it. Tell us all about it.
We know CEOs are busy, right? So I've created this. I'm launching this program called the 30-Day CEO Intensive Program, where it's a digital program where I'm giving them about 10 valuable different pieces of CEO dashboards, SOPs, systems, availability to me through communication platforms, and so many other things where it's a 30-day run program where I'm literally, Aaron, giving them 6 steps. It's my 6 strategic trademark steps of how to go from operations to visionary. So I'm actually helping them because information doesn't equal transformation. We can have so much information, but if you don't have someone there helping and guiding through each of those steps, it isn't going to get done, right? Which is why you said your guy is so critical for you. Your ops guy is truly helps you keeps you in line. But this is a 30-day program to get you started on the right foot for 2026. And so it's launching in January, and I'm really excited about that program.
I'm excited about it. Just in the way that you talk, I can tell there are ops people that are ops people, and there are ops people that love being an ops person, right? And ideally, you want your visionary to love being a visionary. You want your ops person to love being an ops person. And there's just such an energy and a charm about the way you pursue ops. So listen, if you are unclear on how to get from the current management of your business into the visionary seat, which mind you is a completely different role. It's a completely different day to day. You have different responsibilities. It will feel different. It will be different. But if you don't know how to get that transformation underway, I highly recommend that you take 30 days is nothing. Like we can sneeze in 30 days, feels like they're gone. So it'll be a blur of time that you missed if you don't take action on something like this. I highly recommend you reach out to Erica. Erica, where can they learn about it?
My website is seagraveconsultants.com. And I also am on all social medias at MJS Consultants.
Amazing. I would encourage you to kick off 2026 with this. If you don't have a vision, we can certainly help with that. If you are in the management role, looking for something different as you go into your year, this is your action step. Like this is your homework. I will be the nudge, the uncomfortable nudge. I get your shit in order, and Erica can help. So if you've gotten any value out of today, you can imagine what 30 days would be like. This has been an hour. Erica, this is awesome. I learned a lot. It's so cool again to talk to somebody that gets the ops side and is passionate about it. We know about the program. We know where we can find you. If a CEO is listening and feels hopeless, what message could we end with today just to remind them that there's some hope still in the tank?
I would say to them, I was you. So I know exactly what they're feeling because I was in my own way and I couldn't scale. So I was doing all the right things, but I just couldn't scale. I couldn't get the level I needed to get out of until I finally brought people in to help me truly be the visionary. And where I had the time and money freedom and just gained happiness back again, my health back again, running the business, and it liberated. So it was freedom and just feeling liberated and bringing in those key people. That's what I'm going to encourage them to do is recognize that they need to get out of operations because your team does not want you there. They want you out.
Listen, there's another tactical conversation. I hope you got a lot of value out of this. It's time to anchor in for your 2026 by the time this launches. And I want you to be serious about teeing up your year to be successful, whether that's me or her or somebody. Do not go into the year thinking that you're going to be self-made. It's a good time to begin your year with the appropriate kind of help. I'm excited for this episode to meet you where you are. I also want you to have resources to get your life, your business, your vision together. If you love this episode, jump into Apple or Spotify or wherever you're listening and give us a review. Reach out to Erica, figure out how to follow her and get attentive to what she's building. We have a lot happening in our world. I'll tell you very quickly, we've got a retreat in March that we're launching. If you want information on that, please reach out. Otherwise, take some of the advice from today's episode and get it on paper, write it down, figure out where you need help, and do not let this hour be a moment where it went in one ear and out the other. Take some action on this. Erica is wildly approachable when it comes to this stuff. And I'm sure, I'm sort of speaking for you, but would welcome any conversation with anybody in the Living Vision ecosystem or my orbit to just figure out if she can help. And if not, I'm sure she just has a lot of wisdom that can point you in the right direction. Is that okay to offer?
Absolutely. No, Aaron, I give free consults, 30-minute to 45-minute consults where I engage in conversation because I think it's important for people to know, like, and trust you and to just have the confidence in you. So I always do that for anybody. And I'm always going to give away free nuggets during that time. And if they want to utilize me, they know how to find me. But otherwise, I love doing that and just getting people on the right track.
Amazing. You got your marching orders. Thank you for being here. This is another awesome episode, and I'm so grateful for your time. I know you have a lot of places that you can be with your attention, but to be here with me is very special. Have a good rest of your day. See you on the other side of 2026.